You're scrolling, drifting through the endless static of the algorithm, waiting for the signal to cut through the noise. Consider, if you will, that you just found the frequency. You've just stepped off the timeline of the everyday, into the space where the forgotten history and the hidden truths finally touch down. There's the story you know, and then there's the airspace we're about to enter. Check your coordinates, because you're heading towards the landing point. Welcome back, friends. Today's story, The Mimic. Now, nothing quite replaces the bond of a real, living companion. If you've ever shared your home with a sharp, devoted dog, say a loyal standard poodle who keeps company on long drives, you know exactly what that unique connection feels like. It's authentic, it's alive. But back in the late 1990s, two men looked at the world of toys and wondered if they could capture just a fraction of that magic in a machine. Their names were Dave and Caleb. On paper, they were an incredibly unlikely pair. Dave was a nuts and bolts guy, a former Navy man who had worked in aviation electronics and understood circuits, wires, and how to make things tick. He had spent years working as a street performer, a mime, and even a guy who dressed up in a full-body dinosaur costume for a living. He understood movement, emotion, and how to capture the audience heart without saying a single word. They met by chance while designing toys for different companies. At the time, the world was utterly obsessed with a Japanese invention called the Tamagotchi. You probably remember them. Little plastic eggs with tiny digital screens. Kids everywhere were feeding them and playing with digital pixels. Dave and Caleb looked at those little screens and felt a sense of missed opportunity. Sure, the digital pets were clever, but you couldn't pet them. You couldn't hug them. They lived completely behind a pane of glass. So the engineer and the mime made a pact. They were going to build a pet you could actually touch. One that would respond to the stroke of your hand, the sound of your voice, and the flip of the light switch. For 9 grueling months, they sequestered themselves in a workshop. The engineering challenges were staggering. They needed the creature to move its eyes, its ears, its mouth, and its body. But to keep the toy affordable for everyday families, they couldn't fill it with expensive robotics. Dave had to invent a brilliant, complex system of cams and gears so that just a single small motor could drive all of those different movements. Caleb, meanwhile, focused on the creature's soul. He designed it with a wide, emotive eye that gave it a leaning curve. It would start out speaking only its own gibberish language, but the more the child played with it, the more English words it could learn. They built a prototype out of half-finished circuits and spare fur. It looked a bit like an owl and a bit like a hamster. They took their little mechanical creature to Tiger Electronics. During the pitch, the executives were skeptical, but then Dave and Caleb turned on the creature. It blinked its oversized eyes, wiggled its ears, and babbled its first strange words. The executives were enchanted. When the toy hit the shelves in the winter of 1998, the ensuing madness made history. Parents were camping out in freezing parking lots. Fights broke out in store aisles. The little animatronic companion were being resold online for hundreds of dollars above the retail price. Over 40 million of them were sold in 3 years. The engineer and the mime hadn't just built a toy, they had engineered a cultural phenomenon. A wide-eyed, chattering little robot that bridged the gap between a piece of plastic and a living friend. You might know the names David Hampton and Caleb Chung, but you and every parent who survived the holiday shopping craze of 1998 certainly remember their furry little brainchild, the Furby. And whether you realize it or not, this is the landing point. Viewers, thank you for watching today, The Landing Point. We really appreciate it. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Roadrunner Real Estate. They are a full-service real estate company doing both commercial and residential real estate. They can help you buy, sell, or even lease your properties. So if you're in the market looking for a real estate company, please go out and give them a call. They'll happily help you today. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our social media. Obviously, we have YouTube if you're watching that today. If you haven't done so already, please go out and subscribe. It is completely free to you. There's nothing that you'll be charged or your membership fees, but it does help us out so we can get our latest episodes to you quickly, and you can find out what's going on with YouTube. Our other place that we do a lot of our social media is on our Facebook page, The Landing Point. So please go out and like and subscribe or follow those, I guess I would say, so you get the latest updates. If you're a person that likes to listen to stories as you're out on the drive, we have our podcast. You can find The Landing Point out there, and it can be on most services. So once again, thank you for watching The Landing Point, and we look forward to see you on our next story.